Hello everybody, this is Austin Kimm, the Chief Operating Officer at Crypterium. I'm going to do a live stream. I'm just going to give 1 more minute before I get going because at least according to my phone it's not quite GMT 4 o'clock, so I'm just going to wait 1 minute. And whilst I do, I'll ask you all, what was the reason for the crash of the crypto price in the last hour? I haven't had chance to see what caused all of that. So if anybody has some wise words of wisdom, particularly our token owners and ambassadors, you can put it into our chat, because I was quite happily watching the market steadily go up, and now of course it's just dropped like a stone. Anyway, it's 5 o'clock. So let me run through the usual stuff. I'll try and do it in 30 minutes. 40 is usually what I take because I usually digress a little bit. Cover a few things, performance reporting, a little bit about what we're going to try and do for our token, our shareholder situation, exchanges, registration, and of course I'm going to talk a little bit about what our plans are for the future and performance. I'm going to spend a lot more time on performance today than I have done in the past. I've given the excuse, which is I think a very valid, reasonable excuse or reason why we haven't been doing this. We were doing a crowd investing, and it really wasn't, appropriate to be pumping out data and information during that period. Good news is that's effectively closed. There's one final document that needs to be signed, but for all intents and purposes that's closed. So I'm going to give a little bit more information about our reporting. And also there might be some new people on the live stream today. I know not that many people actually watch it live, that's okay, but quite a lot of people do watch it on the Facebook stream or on the YouTube. So there might be some new people, so I might cover a few things again. First of all, very quick mention of the fact that we've got a free TON week. Crypterium really believes in the TON project. We believe it's the speed of its network, the decision-making processes, its fee structures, everything about TON is really where we think the blockchain and crypto really should be heading. We formed a partnership with TON more than a year ago. It's been quite an interesting partnership, and every now and then we will do something very specific for TON. This week we're doing something. I think we've got some free tokens for new users. There's increased investment returns for people who want to save, etc. So if TON is a token that and a network you're interested in, please do check that out, because we really do believe TON is a really interesting project that deserves a lot of people's support, and it runs all week. It's done in conjunction with TON. We don't just do it ourselves, but we really do believe in it. Let's talk about performance reporting. Before I go into individual slides, I just still want to get out there. This is a public presentation. This isn't a presentation to a small group of private investors. This is a public presentation. And therefore, of course, there will still be some key metrics that I don't think is reasonable to share with everybody. And also, at the end of the year, sometimes some of your numbers change depending on certain criteria within your accounting profiles, etc. Nevertheless, I do want to give more information than we've been giving in the past. The other thing I want to say is we're not going to do this every month. Giving a monthly update is a little bit tiring, to be honest. Putting it into a presentation format, of course, we have management accounts, etc. But we will do a quarterly one. So this is based upon the quarter that has just passed at the end of June. And if the timing is right, we will update for the third quarter in the next live stream, but it might be the month after, just depending on the timing. So I'm going to go through a little bit about registrations. I'm going to talk about active and income generating users. It's something I don't think we've covered before. What type of transactional volume we've got, revenue, and I want to talk about some very interesting projects that we're working on. Let's start with the new registrations. The left-hand side and the right-hand side are effectively exactly the same diagram here. I probably could have just got away with the right-hand side, but it does show the impact of the B2B on the right-hand side. So registrations, you can see that we've always had a pretty average, let's say, registration period up until the summer of 2020. Then we started to have quite an uptick. Then we really came into our own from January this year, where we're consistently between 30 and 50,000 registrations a month. Now, a significant share of that, as you can see on the right-hand side, is now coming from our B2B. And I've mentioned this many times in the past, B2B is the perfect registration vehicle because we don't pay for these registrations. Our partners effectively pay for these registrations. They're their users and they sign into our application, and effectively the B2B partner is paying us for the honor or the privilege of being able to do that. So we are very much focused on not just on the B2C, but on the B2B registrations. But you can see we've got a steady growth, and we've kept that as a consistent period. Of course, April, May were good times in view of the fact that crypto was very hot, particularly in April and May, or let's say March and April, I would say. But we've maintained that. The next thing I want to talk about is why registrations are really so important. Now, of course, a registration is really nothing much more than someone downloading the application and giving his telephone number and basic sign-in details. That's a registration. But he might never use the application. You all do this. You all download an app out of the App Store or Google Play, and 2 minutes later you've deleted it. You check it out and you decide it's not for you. But registrations are the first part of basically a funnel. And what I wanted to show was something a little bit more let's say interesting than just the number of registrations, and they're registrations that become income generating users. I'm not showing the exact numbers here because I think that's just too sensitive, but I'm showing what we call cohorts, and I'm sure there's many of you out there know what a cohort is, but for those who don't, a cohort is a period of time, and we track the activity from people who join in a particular period of time. So a registration leads to an active user. An active user could be somebody who goes in and just checks the price of crypto every day, or he might put some money into a wallet and just checks how it's going on. But not every active user generates income. If you're checking the price of crypto using our price data, then we don't make any money out of that. So registrations become active users, and active users become income generating users. Now, of course, the biggest number is registrations, then active, then income generating. But what I wanted to show was really how loyal and sticky our income generating users are, and some of the lessons that we are learning from this. So what you can see here is a period, and I'll go through the bullets as you can see them on the right hand side. So the first bullet makes it quite clear that what tends to happen after a registration, the person becomes active. It can take a little bit of time for those people to become income generating. That's logical. You don't dump all your money into the application on day one. You might test it out, and then you start becoming income generating. And you can see that picture happening consistently. So this group here is Q3, this blue group is Q3, this is Q4, this is Q1 this year, and that's Q2 this year. And you can see in all of these, there is a progression upwards for the first 3 months. And you can see here that this group here, which is Q1 2020, is dramatically bigger, of course, than this group here, which is Q3 2020. And that, of course, is consistent with registrations. So income generating users are a natural consequence of course, registrations. But what I also wanted to show is there are some lessons which we are learning. First one is we tend to have a little bit of a drop-off in month 4. Again, I would say that's pretty natural. People test it out. Some people might not like it, etc. So we have to work with that. How do we stop that drop-off in month 4? How do we keep them active? Special promotions, special incentives, etc. But what I also think is very important to show here is that today's registrations are next year's income generating users. They're not just today's income generating users. So if we look, even this green bar here, this green bar is Q1 2020. Now, we didn't have that many people register with us in Q1 2020, maybe 5,000 to 6,000 people a month. Nevertheless, you can see that they're still active with us. It hasn't really changed over time. This blue bar, of course, we have the odd drop, and it does fall a little bit, but I would say that's a general form of, of churn that almost every business will see, that there will be some churn. But we believe that we have a very sticky user base. So if we can recruit more people today, then those people that are recruiting today are not just generating income for today, they're generating significant income for us in quite a long time. I mean, even this yellow bar here, which is really a long time ago, Q2 2019, yes, we recruited very few people, but they're still very active. And they're still generating income for us. So if you see that we recruit 50,000 people this month and we recruit 70,000 next month, then that has a positive impact. And the B2B angle, of course, feeds through to that. The more that we recruit today, the better that is going to be in the future. And I wanted to also share something, a little bit more of an insight into this. So this is the two particular groups, two particular periods of time. So the first bar here, this blue bar, is from September to October 2019, and the yellow bar is July last year. And I've chosen those periods for nothing particular other than the July was 12 months, and I wanted to roughly do an 18-month after that. So what you can see is that when a person becomes income generating with Crypterium, they stay pretty consistent over the lifetime. This is, my face is in the way, but that's $10 down there. So you can see pretty much $10, or 10 euros, sorry, is the amount of revenue we generate from an income generating user once he becomes income generating. So not everyone, as we've said, is a registered user, doesn't automatically become income generating. But if we can flick that switch and they become income generating, they stay income generating. But what's also interesting for us is that this cohort here, which is September last year, September and October, you can see that we've managed to increase the revenue that we're generating from this group of people. And that's a significant change. That's 30 euros. Down here, it was less than 10 euros. So if we can keep them active inside the application, if we can keep our users happy with the services that we're providing, we are able to not just keep them happy, but we're able to generate significantly more income. The second thing, which I think is relevant, is that you can see that the people that we've been recruiting in the last 12 months generate more income than the people that we recruited at the start. This is their first month, second month, etc., and this was, the previous. So I think what I'm trying to get across here is that registrations and income generating users, they're all part of the same vision, and I think we have a very good dynamic here, one that we can work with. So if we're able to bring on more B2B partners and bring on more retail customers, then that has an inevitable flow through from our income. There are many applications and banks out there that rely effectively on brand new users to generate income. They generate income for 2 or 3 months, then they're lost, and then they have to go out and find more users. That is not the case. And our return on investment per generating user is really quite fantastic because, as I say, we're not really buying these users. Many of these users are coming through the B2B environment. Also, a little bit about geography. You've seen geography before, but that was more about registrations. So these are the people who are generating money for us. And it's actually not what you'd expect. Of course, we have some of the big ones in there. You'd expect to see the UK. But actually, we make more money, would you believe, from users from Serbia than we do from users from the USA. Which you could say is a good thing or a bad thing, depending on which way you're looking at it. You could say it's a huge opportunity for us, or we are missing an opportunity, depending on which way you want to look at it. But what it shows to us is that the crypto space really for us is global. We don't have one market where we're totally reliant on. We are, for example, going for registration in the United Kingdom. I'll touch upon that, but it's not that big. It's not that important to us. I mean, of course, it's important. We don't want to lose it, but none of these markets are particularly, if we lose, I don't know, let's say Italy decides it doesn't like crypto and bans all crypto, it doesn't really have that much of an impact on us. Now, we are focused on those markets which are potentially going to be the biggest. So, of course, the USA, we're going to launch Visa cards hopefully at the end of this year through our partner Cascade. We're not launching something specific for Serbia. But, it is an interesting thing. It's not always where you think the spend will be. It's not always where you get it. Okay, transactions themselves, income generating transactions and all types of transactions. So I've got it here on this particular slide. Top left is income generating, top right is all types of transactions. Now some transactions we make no money from. So there is a difference between the two. It's pretty consistent actually. It's about 60%. 60% of transactions we earn some revenue on and 40% we don't. And you can see that okay, it's not going up in the last couple of months, but the market of May and June, but the market also wasn't going up during that period. So we had that significant growth phase. I mean, that between there and the same period of the previous year is more than 10 times. The February this year and the February last year, it's more than 10 times. And we've managed to maintain that. And it's the same, it's exactly the same diagram. You can see, you'd say apart from changing the scale on the left, you can see it's exactly, so we have a very consistent user base in terms of what type of transactions they're doing and how they're doing. Again, that's a positive and a negative and gives us an opportunity. I don't normally show this information. I'm not going to show it on a regular basis, but this is basically the income that we're generating. We've now generated more than 4 million euros of income. Most of that, the vast bulk of that, as you can see, has been in the last 12 months. I mean, the period prior to the last 12 months is insignificant. So you could say we've made 3.5 million or whatever it is in the last 12 months. And you know, we're now over 300,000 in monthly revenue. Now, bearing in mind that the number of transactions fell during June, we actually had an increase in revenue in June, and that is again on the back of the fact that we have a very positive traction from the B2B. The B2B has both upfront payments and long-term payments. I expect that Q3 might be a little bit down. July wasn't particularly good, as we know. August was okay, and September, up until about 1 hour ago, was doing fantastic. As I say, I have no idea what happened in the last hour, but nevertheless, that's been a positive. But maybe I don't expect this to go up, let's say, in the third quarter, but hopefully it'll be close to what you see here. But let's talk then specifically about projects that can make a fundamental difference to us. I call them B2B projects, but they're not actually B2B projects. I would call them special projects. And it links very much to something I'm going to talk about later, which is about the token price and the value of the company. A lot of the value of a company is on the perception of what that company can deliver. It's not about how much profit it makes today or how many customers it has today. It's about what it's capable of doing in the future. And that's why for us the B2B is really a very important part. Now, most of our B2B customers are relatively straightforward organizations. They may have a financial services license and want to buy crypto, and they have their own coin or something. It's relatively straightforward to understand, and they just want basically a copy of our application, which is fantastic. But there are some fantastic projects out there which we're really working on. Now, I have removed all of the names here because it's not appropriate to deliver them, but I can hand on heart say all three of them are very close to, well, if they're not close to being live because there's a lot of IT work to be done, but the deals have been struck. So on the left-hand side, we have got an agreement with a search engine, one of our crypto ambassadors, one of our own crypto token owners made the introduction, and everything is going along very nicely. And what makes this so exciting is the whole concept is to include the crypto wallet into the search bar. This particular company will reward people in crypto, and they will have a whole range of crypto functions, and it will be in the search bar. And it's not a small search engine. Okay, it's definitely not Google, and it's not Safari, for example, or Firefox, but it is, it's highly recognized. It's one of those which have been approved by Google to be as the default option within the Chrome and their operating system for phones. So it isn't small. So we can get that up and running, let's say within the next 3 or 4 months, even in the last 6 months. The opportunity here is absolutely huge because the vast bulk of users will be rewarded in some way of crypto, and they will have their own wallet. The next one is, I think, just as exciting. We've signed an agreement with a ATM manufacturer that has 20,000 ATMs, and those ATMs tend to be in high traffic areas. So they'll be in casinos, they'll be in bookshops, or sorry, that's an English phrase, betting shops. They'll be in those type of places where there's a huge amount of money coming in and out. These particular ATMs, it's already been tested, not with us, but with another company for 3 ATMs, and each ATM was doing between 75,000 and 100,000 of buying or selling crypto per ATM per month. Now, we won't get all 20,000 of them active, but imagine that you've got, I don't know, 2,000 of those actively buying and selling crypto, each doing 100,000 each. That is a very attractive value proposition for everybody. And then the third one is a top 20 exchange, which effectively wants our card. Now, that's a lot more traditional than the other ones, but it's very different to be a top 20 exchange and have the card than it is, say, just a relatively specific token that might come out of Estonia, for example. Now, the value proposition here is, of course, we're going to generate significant revenue from this. And we will share this revenue, of course, with our partners. But from a token perspective, what we see is we haven't quite worked out exactly what the token economics are, because, of course, this isn't the traditional pay at an ATM. These are quite different. But we are building in a token economics for each one of these. So imagine, for example, every time someone does a pay in at an ATM or a cash out at an ATM, CRPT is burnt every single time. Or every time somebody earns some money in the search bar of the engine, CRPT is burnt. We are really pushing not now just the economics of the project itself, which is, I will be honest, is really what we focused on in the past, which isn't really right. We're focused on the dual approach. What is the economics of the project, and also how do we make the token economics super exciting? So I'm pretty confident that if we are launching these type of projects, pushing this out to the community, letting everybody know what we're doing, we won't only just make money out of this, which we should make considerable money out of it, we will also dramatically improve the attractiveness of the token. And we strongly believe that the token value, the economics of the company, and the shareholder value, the share price, are all linked. So we are very much focused on these type of projects now. You don't see them in the application, so you might be waiting, where's that new, I don't know, update that we were hoping to see. Sometimes they are being put to one side because some of these projects are really, very exciting. Okay, on the token itself, I'm a little bit disappointed, a little bit sheepish, because we have promised to put you onto some big exchanges. They are just taking forever or not happening at all. I wish I could give a much more positive news. But whilst we're waiting for that, we're not going to hang around. We are going to launch on a lot of different exchanges from a geographic perspective. So this one's specifically focused on India. We will launch hopefully another exchange tomorrow. It won't be one that's going to get you excited as a community. It's not in that top 10 list, which is what I was hoping that we would be announcing. They are just taking a really long time, but we are going to make sure that there is more visibility, more liquidity. So there's no point, for example, presenting to the world that we've just done a deal to do 20,000 ATMs to buy Bitcoin and cash out Bitcoin, etc., and then have no liquidity in any of the markets to take advantage of that. So we have listened to you. We're not on enough exchanges. We're going to get on the exchanges. We're still trying for the big ones. We're not prepared to pay $1 million to get on them. Maybe if the token price is $10, then we can afford to spend $2 million to get onto a big exchange. But right now, that's not the case. So we are pushing to get on more exchanges. Token price. We started a concerted effort to try and improve the token price over the last month. I wouldn't say we've been particularly, super successful, but at least there is an upside. We have shown at least some upside, and this market ranking is not where we want to be. We hope to be, definitely above or below, the top 500. We hope to be in the top 500 within the next few months. We're going to make a big push on this. Now, I know you've heard it before, but we also realize that we own a lot of tokens ourselves, and if we are raising capital, and you own 10 million tokens, and those 10 million tokens themselves are worth 30 million bucks. When you're raising capital, you have 30 million bucks worth of real assets. So the two things, again, are very linked. So if we can increase the token price, we also increase the capitalization of the company. And when we raise capital, those two things are linked. So really, there is a big push. Again, not particularly exciting, but at least we've kept track this time with Bitcoin. One is against US dollar, one is against Bitcoin. This is the last month. Hopefully, we're going to start to see a change in this dynamic. We are aware of it, but at least we've kept track. Nothing for you guys to be particularly happy about, but at least we stopped that trend downwards. And you can see there is at least a trend upwards over the last month. Nothing to get too excited about, but there is a trend upwards. Okay, crowdfunding. It's been a very long process, this. We hit so many different obstacles that we should have expected but didn't expect. One of them was the difficulty of our crowdfunding partner to be able to open a relevant account inside Estonia. This knocked us back several months. We tried to find solutions, and I'm not going to go through the whole process. What I can say is we're finally closed. We've got one document left to sign. There's no more sort of outstanding issues. We are closed. It was a very successful campaign, I would say. The average crowdfunding that takes place for these platforms is about 500,000-600,000. We'd hit 3 million. I think on that particular platform, we're the fourth most successful crowdfunding ever on that platform. So yeah, I think it's a pretty successful period. I'd just give you a few basic statistics. How many people? So this pie chart shows the type of investor, and the bigger the block is the number of investors, not the value. So this block here is only 26,000 euros, but 773 people are now going to be shareholders of Crypterium. Down here to 168,000, etc. You can see it yourself. And each one of these categories has a particular value. It's about 2,600 investors. Again, that's a very big number for a crowd investing, significantly more than the most. I don't know whether that's the most they've ever had, probably not, but it's going to be up there. So it's a very big number. So we should feel proud of it. The only thing that's disappointing is how long it took us. So we have quite a few people who, invested a significant amount of money. So 427 people, are premium investors. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 1,000, but maybe it's 5,000. I'll check in a moment. So we have a lot of investors, and that's fantastic. So these people are shareholders, 2,000 plus of them, and we are, fantastic to have you on board. We gave a token bonus to everybody who joined in. We can confirm pretty much with that structure that pretty much everybody is going to get exactly what they had. We had a limit. I don't think we broke the limit. We have to still do a final calculation, but I'm pretty sure that we haven't broken the limit. So if you invested 5,000 euros, you're getting 5 CRPT for every. So basically €1 for, you're going to get 5,000 CRPT. Pretty straightforward. There's a whole range of benefits. I'm sure the people who've invested have seen these. I'll just briefly mention a couple of them. Prize draw. Pretty much everyone gets into the prize draw. I think everybody, in fact, gets into the prize draw. We need one more week to make a few more calculations as to how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, etc. But we will organize that and announce that in, say, a week's time. One strange thing is, until this final document is signed, we still don't know the names of each individual, so there are a few things we still can't actually deliver yet, but everything is ready. So there's going to be a prize draw. There's some branded merch, which is going to be sent out to those investors. There's some VIP cards. So this is the premium investor. They did €1,000 to 3,000 euros. Some nice benefits, and I'm not going to go through all of these. We had 6 people at this one, Platinum Plus. So we had 6 people who invested 50,000 euros, and this particular group of people effectively are going to be invited to join our strategic partnerships groups and things like this, as particular advisory board members. Maybe they don't want to join, maybe they're just a financial investor, but if they would like to join, then that again is going to be sorted out in the next few days. The problem we had with the European crowdfunding was we couldn't really take any US investors, which was a shame because we had over 1,000 US investors which are registered. So we might do something small in the USA. It's not because we would like another 300,000 euro or something, but we had so many people who wanted to invest that we might still do that. And if we do it, we will do that in the next few weeks. Okay, change of track. UK registration. The UK has been an incredibly difficult marketplace for crypto companies in the last sort of couple of years. They introduced a registration process, which I think about 250 companies applied for, really big companies to very small companies, and it's been a really long, arduous process. We did our application in April this year, April last year. We were given a temporary registration, we were given an extension. We were removed from this temporary registration. That's the reason why I'm mentioning it, because I want to explain why. And, we need a date. When are we actually going to get this registration? It's been a very, very long process. I think 10 companies so far over 2 years have been approved by the UK. And the interesting thing is, it is not what we thought it was going to be. It's still good to have because the UK is still a highly regarded regulated market. And if you're registered in the UK, it's nice to have. However, UK registration will only enable us to do transactions for UK nationals or UK registered businesses. And if the UK registered businesses, we can only do business with a UK registered business if they themselves have been approved for registration. So it's really quite a difficult process. So we're going to carry on. We're going to still push it. But to be honest, it isn't as important as we initially thought. It doesn't extend to the rest of Europe. Brexit killed all that. And it doesn't stop us transacting in Europe, in the UK, because we can carry on transacting from Estonia. So it hasn't affected us in any way, other than the fact we've put a huge amount of effort in. We were told 2 months ago, be ready, we're going to get the registration, or that was the indication we were given, and then 2 months have passed and nothing. So don't be worried if you see that we've been removed from the temporary registration. The temporary registration was given to companies that were trading out of the UK. We did some test trades, which enabled us to get into that category, but we were not prepared to switch any of our business to the UK so that we were active for this very reason. If we started signing up companies and individuals into the UK and then we didn't get registration, it's a real pain. So we decided not to carry on with the activities out of the UK, which meant that they removed our temporary registration, not because they're unhappy with us, but the fact they don't need to give us temporary registration because we're not active. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So if you see that we've been removed from the register, it is not a positive or a negative, it's just the fact we're not trading, and we won't trade out of the UK unless we actually receive registration. Hopefully, it's going to be soon. Few ideas from our community. We do get a lot of ideas from our community, and really nice ideas. Some of them we really like, some of them take a bit of thought process. CRPT as a staking option, absolutely 100% support this. We need to find ways that if you stake your tokens, you get better benefits. These things in quotes are not my ideas. These are from the individuals. Maybe it's too small on the screen for you to see. There are some ideas for website improvements which we've taken on board and we will implement. Rewards again depend on CRPT holdings. Again, we totally take it on board, and between now and the end of the year, you will definitely see things like this taking place. More exchanges, definitely. Better investing, you probably can't see it down here because my face is in the way. Cryptocurrency investing, auto trading bots. We have a fantastic feature inside our application, and unfortunately we failed to really market it properly and take advantage of it. I think we've got about 3,000 people who use it on a regular basis. But this price predictive bot, or whatever you want to call it, algorithm, really is very, very accurate on a monthly basis. And we're not taking advantage of it. So we are developing some solutions. I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the last quarter. I'm conscious of time. I always digress too much. We always add more tokens. We will probably see a lot of tokens added that you've not heard of, because as we bring on board a B2B customer, they obviously would like us to add the tokens to the environment. That's good for them and it's good for us. Reduce verification bureaucracy. Our KYC is cumbersome. I do a lot of KYC on lots of different apps. I don't think we're any more cumbersome than other companies. Some people might disagree with me, but we try to reduce the bureaucracy. For example, we changed our provider so it was the same as the card provider. So you only have to go through it once, but we're always looking for ways to improve this. One way we'd love to improve it is whether, so we could actually get you up and running before we do KYC rather than before you actually get up and running, but we're working on how to do that. Direct debit Visa cards, that is actually what's going to happen in the US. You will have the option effectively in the US. You can either have a preload logic or you can take a direct debit, and it might be a combination of both. You can preload, and if you run out of load, it becomes direct debit. That is, the US Visa card has quite a lot of features that the European Visa card doesn't have, and we are looking at how to improve the European. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of this, although I do like this one down here, reduce burn and enhance bonuses. One of the logics, of course, of Crypterium is that the utility function of the coin will be the primary driver. I think we have to test that logic a little bit. We have seen significant burning. We've promised to make additional burning, and we have done that. It didn't really have that much impact on the price. Maybe changing the burning logic and increasing rewards, of using some of that to increase rewards, might do. So that's the type of thing we're thinking of now. Maybe we apply that, for example, to an ATM or something rather than to what's in the white paper. But anyway, that is something we are looking at. And our focus for the year end. So this is my last slide. I'll talk very, very briefly about it in interest of time. Token value proposition. I will repeat this again. I know you're probably tired of us hearing this, but we are going to do everything in our power over the next 4 or 5 months to see what we can do to basically improve the economic value proposition of our token. And as I said, the type of projects I've talked about, but not just that. There's many ideas here. The other thing that we're very conscious of, and I showed you this a little bit before, we have a lot of money that goes through the application that we don't make any money from. It comes in and it goes out. What we really want to do is stop people moving it in and out. Of course, there will some going in and out, but we want to give people a reason to keep their money with us, a lot more so than we have today. So we have some nice features, spending, the Visa card makes us considerable income every month, and it's very useful. But it's much easier for people just to leave a token inside our application and earn on that than it is, from many other ways. So we are going to put in the next few months a lot of effort, and you'll see some enhancements in the application about how to earn on what you've got, particularly on the CRPT token, especially on the CRPT token. You're going to see a lot of that over the next few months. I mentioned, I think 2 or 3 live streams ago, we have to split the architecture between our B2B and retail. We built the B2B on the back of retail. It worked to start with, but the type of projects I've shown today, they are not built on a retail application. They are built very much on a specific architecture. So we are effectively backward architecture now and splitting the two. So we almost have 2 simultaneously running platforms with some common architecture. We're in the process of launching an expert advisory board, particularly also focused on token. We've already started this. I think the first meeting actually took place whilst I am giving this live stream, so I wasn't part of that meeting. And also we now have shareholders, we have a particular advisory board, so that's going to be set up. Another thing that we're really interested in is DeFi aggregators. The DeFi sector, I'm not what I would call an expert on DeFi, but there are so many fantastic projects out there with incredible returns on investment that the vast bulk of people just don't know how to get into or how to use. We believe that we need to make things very, very simple. And I suppose it's similar to what I said about the AI auto investing. Maybe it's not necessarily a DeFi thing, but the idea where we allow people to automatically carry out transactions, for example, auto simultaneous lending and recovery. As we know, many DeFi tasks are all about arbitrage on the various exchanges, and they need to borrow money and do trades. And there are so many things that we could be doing here. So we're putting a lot of thought into DeFi aggregator type products that we're going to be very specific in first instance for the retail, but if there are very specific projects for the B2B, we will do that. And then finally, we will never stop capital raising. There's some significant capital going into this market, and we've got to take it whilst we can. We continue to talk to investment funds. As I mentioned, we might do something very small in the US, but that's really just to keep our token community happy. But we will carry on capital raising. I mean, I've seen hundreds of millions going into some of these companies that I can't work out really what they would spend the money on, but I know what we would spend 100 million on if we were able to acquire it. So we will continue capital raising. So don't expect to see a huge number of small improvements in the app. I believe, sort of to finish off, I believe that we said to you about 3 months ago, we need to improve the stability of the app. We need to improve the speed of return, the downtimes. I think over the last 3 months, we've achieved that. Now, of course, we're not perfect, but we've definitely, 3 months on, we're much better than we were 3 months ago. If you click on the app now, it might take 5 seconds to load, whereas it could have taken 30 seconds to load 3 months ago. So a lot of little things that you probably don't say, oh, that's really cool. It has improved. I get a lot of people saying, I think it's improving. I think our customer service has been improving significantly. We brought on a new team. I think their empathy, let's say, with people's problems has become much better. Again, we still get it wrong sometimes, but I think the general feedback there is pretty good. So I think we've done what we said we were going to do for the last 3 months, with the exception of exchanges. I apologize one more time, but we are trying on this. And going forward, it is very much about token valuations, these special projects that we are working on, which will bring dramatic value, both economically and to the token price. We are resplitting the architecture so that we don't have the delays that sometimes we have. Every B2B project probably reduces the speed of response on a retail project. And as I say, we're really interested in DeFi aggregator type projects. So that's it. One more time, I apologize. I can't see any comments. I can't take comments and respond to them. Hopefully the marketing team will be reading those comments, and somebody in the next 24 hours will at least respond to them. If you are in the Telegram chat groups with me, tomorrow I have a lot of hours to kill because I'm on a train for about 4 hours, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions tomorrow on Telegram and give you, one-to-one answers if you want. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry I take so long. I always do. And next one will probably be run by Steve. We're going to try and, I do one, Stephen does one, and it'll probably be around roughly this time in October. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. And hopefully I've covered some of your questions. And if I didn't, don't forget, Telegram tomorrow. Austin Kimm is my moniker if you don't have me, and I'll try and answer any Telegram questions.